him as a greedy billionaire. This based on comments he made back in 2006 when he said he hoped to profit when the housing market collapsed.
They've got some clip of me from many years ago where I'm saying, yeah, if it goes down, I'm going to buy you. I'm a businessman. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren going after Trump for his past business practices.
Donald Trump was drooling over the idea of a housing meltdown because it meant he could buy up more property on the cheap. What kind of a man does that? It is a man who cares about no one but himself. A small, insecure money grubber who doesn't care who gets hurt so long as he makes a profit off it.
Trump called Warren a, quote, total failure, also calling her Pocahontas, a reference to Trump's claim that Warren faked her Native American heritage, a claim she denies. Trump's next rally will be in Anaheim, California. Law enforcement there, Pamela, already preparing for more unrest.
In the wake of what happened there in Albuquerque. Jason Carroll, thank you so much for that. And let's talk about all of this. I want to bring in our panel this morning. CNN political analyst and editor-in-chief of the Daily Beast, John Avlon, along with political editor for RightAlerts.com and Donald Trump supporter Scotty Nell Hughes, and campaign director for the Center for American Progress Action Fund and Hillary Clinton supporter Emily Tish Sussman. Thank you to the three of you for coming on this Wednesday morning. A lot to discuss here and break apart. Scotty, to you first. On the heels of what we just heard from Jason's report, Elizabeth Warren really going after Trump, both on social media and that speech we saw. She seems to be getting under his skin. It seems to be working here. This morning, Trump tweeted, goofy Elizabeth Warren, sometimes known as Pocahontas, bought foreclosed housing and made a quick killing. Total hypocrite. Why does this line of attack, Scotty, seem to be getting under his skin more than other attacks from people?
Well, I think because it's actually what he said, hypocritical. I mean, you look at Hillary Clinton going after Mr. Trump and saying that he was, making out, demonizing him because he took advantage of a situation. He made the comment that, yes, I hope it bursts because I will make money. And that's, things that Warren Buffett has said, a key Democrat contributor. That is something that these businessmen do. They do make money on these downturn economies, and that they seize the opportunity. And you look at, and I think he's sitting there looking at people like Elizabeth Warren. He's looking at Hillary Clinton. He's looking even at Bernie Sanders, who were in office and voted for things like Dodd-Frank, voted for things that encouraged subprime mortgages that actually caused this housing bubble. So it's very hypocritical for them to go after him, who actually used it to. I hear the.
Was that a sigh, John?
That was such a sigh on John. But let's
yes,
look
that
at
was
who
a
caused
sigh
it. It was the
Dodd-Frank was a correction of the problem, not the cause of the problem.
No, really, it did not correct the problem.
Yes, Dodd-Frank came after the fiscal crisis. It was designed, however, perfectly to fix it. Maybe you're thinking about. But Dodd-Frank was after the crisis designed to fix it.
No, you look at these politicians. You cannot sit there and blame people for the crash in 08, the housing crisis in 08, based on the people that were actually out in the field. You have to blame the politicians that made those laws, and those were people like Elizabeth Warren, who was in office, but she was Hillary Clinton. Those folks who voted for it.
So let's broaden this out a
little
bit.
Scotty, don't talk about economics about the Great Recession. Defend your guy to the hilt, but at least use logic.
Okay,
it's saying the same thing Warren Buffett has.
Let me just broaden this out quickly. Hold on, Emily. Let me just broaden this out, because it does seem like, beyond this debate about, the housing market and everything, that Elizabeth Warren has really struck a nerve with Donald Trump. This is not the first time they've gone after it over Twitter. So what do you think, Emily? Do you think that this is Hillary Clinton's secret weapon, a way for her to basically stay above the fray while Elizabeth Warren really goes after him?
Look, I think the reason that Warren gets under his skin is because she is smart. She knows her stuff. But whether or not it affects Trump is actually really not the real question here. It's what he represents, and it's who he's talking to, and it's who he's going to bring people together. Right now, Republicans are doing everything they possibly can to say, I guess this is our nominee. We'll reluctantly coalesce behind him. But the reason these comments are important, and unlike any of the Republican attacks before this, is that the attacks before this basically just showed that he's rich. Okay, so fine. We know that he's rich. But what we didn't know directly from his own quotes, I think we had indicated it, was that he was willing to profit off the workers for his own self-dealing. And that's exactly what this shows. The difference between him and every other businessman who said something like, the fact that they would make money off a downturn in the economy is that he wants to be president. He wants to represent these people. When he files for bankruptcy, he is protected, but it is the small business construction workers that get screwed. It is his casino workers that get screwed. And now he says that he has their interest at heart and he's representing them. That rings very, very false.
Okay, so John, then why is he doing so well among millions of Americans?
Well, I think Donald Trump has been very effective at tapping into cultural and economic resentment and the perception that Washington's out of touch and the game is rigged and dominated by special interests, which is a message he shares with Bernie Sanders, with Hillary Clinton is not particularly well positioned to answer. But the reason these attacks are getting under his skin is because they're going at a core strength, his business practices. And there's nothing wrong with buying low and selling high. The difference is cheerleading for a crisis in which a lot of people get hurt. The very middle class who've been squeezed for decades that Donald Trump is trying to appeal to. And look, as an independent, we got to use equal standards on both sides. And for example, the protest last night that degenerated into violence, that is a bad move for the Democratic Party and Trump opponents. Because if they degenerate into violence, imagine what would have happened if folks on the right had protested so violently and danced on police cars. There would be a totally different tone of conversation today.
Well, I think tone is right.
Lens,
Look, I mean, it is the tone set by Trump. I think we are at a real turning point in American history that are we going to seriously consider a presidential candidate when this is the tone that he sets? He encourages violence at his rallies, and people are responding to it. Look, we've seen acts of violence all over the country where people are acting out against Hispanics and against people of color and saying that it's because they're inspired by Trump's message. We're at a real turning point.
Which is incredibly dangerous.
Scotty, go ahead.
It is about what we put out in the world.
You cannot sit there and blame last night on Mr. Trump. The only place, if actually to serve correctly, memory serves correctly, is Nevada at the Democrat convention there, where there was actually violence that happened by the Bernie Sanders supporters there. The only place that we've actually seen violence encouraged by the actual supporters of our candidates are on the Democrat side, not the Republican. And I'm not going to sit there and let you smear last night to be Mr. Trump. You're looking at people that were sitting there. There were, hold on, my turn to respond. There were sitting people out there. They were chanting. They were proud that they were illegal, and they were proud of it. They were sitting there waving the Mexican flag. They might have some real grievances with what Mr. Trump has said, but I'll be honest with you, like you pointed out, this is not the get your point across, and this only emboldens the American people to realize that we have a real issue with the illegals in this country who feel like they deserve to be here, and that we should just give them everything they want. Our economy cannot pay for it anymore. We are $19 trillion in debt. We need to turn off the spigot and get our country in line before we continue giving to others.
John?
Pamela, we're not even doing dog whistle anymore. We're just doing naked us against them. I condemned when protests turn into violence because peaceful protests have moral authority. But when all of a sudden we start saying that the real issue is it shows how unlawful illegals are, that's dangerous demagogic stuff that reflects the rhetoric of Donald Trump throughout the campaign, and that's where this gets tricky and difficult and becomes something we need to confront directly.
Let me ask you this, too, because something else has been a consistent theme in Donald Trump's campaign is this whole notion of conspiracy theories, and he's been talking about it with the Clintons as well, most recently, in an ad he had on social media. Emily, older voters have heard Trump's conspiracy theories before, but millennials are new to this fight. Do you think that Clinton needs to come out and respond to his attacks more directly, stronger than she has to this point?
I don't think so. I think that what Trump's doing is he's just looking for, what he's doing, what he does best is he's creating media narratives. He's bringing up things that have been litigated, tried, put to bed, and he just continues to bring them up because it gets him media attention. I don't think that's what people want to see as a forward-looking president, someone who's going to set an agenda that's actually going to realistically help their lives. If he's talking about, look, he was talking about the downturn in the housing crisis and rooting for it. That is real people. That is real people being thrown out of their homes. And if she can decide whether she's going to respond to 20-year-old scandals of things that have been totally put to bed and totally tried, or if she's going to talk about moving the country forward and getting people back in those homes and getting them jobs, I do not think she should waste any time trying to respond to him.
Mr. Trump is just simply responding to $136 million of a Hillary Clinton minion, a.k.a. her super PAC, that is going Mr. Trump on the women's issue, and he's just exposing. It wasn't just one victim. There are 17 victims. One even actually ended in an $850,000 settlement that Bill Clinton settled with it. So there are some real issues here, and we need to defend
the Republican super PAC. I mean, I think that the super PAC that you're responding to.
That's actually Hillary Clinton's super.
But it's his own
Hillary Clinton's super PAC are the ones. They're the ones right now, and there's other issues that they're sitting there and they're doing this advertising campaign. He is just responding to that. He is on the defense. He is not in the
Donald Trump doing deflection election because of his own vulnerabilities on this issue. But I do think it's tough for someone who's a bully to play the victim on these issues. It's smart politics to play offense and try to deflect and anticipate attacks on your own character, your own personal life. The self-inflicted sex scandals of the Clinton era, that's out there. It's when he starts dipping his toe into conspiracy theories and dignifying the crazy that it becomes totally unconscionable.
But doesn't this also